Boring history for sleep when Breton fisherwomen mended nets to the rhythm of rain. Asterisk, Story 1, The Salt. Wind and silent needles of Douani. Asterisk, Good evening, dear friend. Dim your lights. Settle beneath your blanket. Let the day's demands melt into quiet. You are safe, you are warm, and now, together, we drift back to a coastline softened by centuries of sea and salt and slow, persistent living. Outside your window, perhaps there is a hush, maybe a faint wind, or the murmur of rain. Let it in. Let it carry you not forward, but backward, to a grey coast in western France, a place where the sea smells of sardines and the stones remember hands long gone. This is Douarnenez, and this is the story of its women net menders, widow fishers, quiet artists of utility. No great battles, no kings, just thread, salt, and a life shaped by tides. You are in a low-ceilinged stone cottage. The hearth is warm. Outside, a light rain patters on the slate roof, tapping time with the same rhythm your fingers now trace over old linen. It is 1853, and you are a woman of the coast. Your name is perhaps Cattell, or Sozig, or Ginmarie. Names worn smooth by repetition, like river stones in an apron pocket. You live not with wealth, but with rhythm. The rhythm of nets soaked in brine and flung across driftwood beams. The rhythm of footsteps on damp stone. The rhythm of waiting for boats that may or may not return. The room smells of hemp and wool. A skein of twine rests near the window, and across your lap is the great netter web of labor, stretched taut across your knees. It is not romantic, this net. It is not dainty. It smells faintly of fish, of seaweed, of honest work. And yet, as you mend, there is poetry here. One hand guides the thread. The other pulls. Over, under, pull. Not over, under, pull. Not, you mend the same holes your mother did in the same net your grandmother once worked. And in the same lull of rain and coal crackle, you hum the same tune, a fragment of Breton, half remembered, about a boat that never came home. Douarnenez is quiet today. The harbour groans softly, with wooden masts swaying as if dreaming. The boat's flotillas of sardine fishers have gone out before dawn. They will not return until the afternoon, bellies hopefully full of silver catch. And so, the town is woman-ed. In kitchens and sheds, in courtyards and under lean-tos, women bend their backs over nets, over baskets, over brine tubs, over ledgers. Some with babies tied to their backs, others with black scarves pinned beneath their chins, the mourning veil of a husband lost at sea. You, like them, are not idle. The sea allows no idleness. Look more closely at your hands. The index finger is calloused. You wear a leather thimble to push the needle through the thicker cords. The twine is rough, it leaves tiny red ridges across your palms. You pause to sip from a tin cup. Chicory coffee, no sugar. There is a biscuit beside it, soft from the sea air. You'll eat it slowly, perhaps at the next rest. A distant church. Bell rings 11. Still a few hours until the men return. Still time to mend now. Across the lane, another window flickers with candlelight. That is Yvonne's cottage. She is older than you, a widow for many years. Her fingers tremble now, but she still mends nets. Still makes the best salt cod stew in the canton. Still hums old songs with a cracked voice that soothes like wool on stone. You think of asking her for that dye recipe lichen from the cliffs, rainwater, ash. It darkens the wool just so, enough to knit a cap for your eldest before winter. But for now, you stitch, over, under, pull. Not dot the room is dim, but the rain is lighter now. You can hear the faint shouts of children in the lane, chasing a runaway. Tin pale, their voices rise like gulls, then vanish into mist. There is peace here, not joy, not sorrow, just a soft equilibrium. A stillness carved by necessity and worn in like a path through heath. You remember how, as a girl, you hated this. Work, you longed for the sea. You would sit by the rocks and stare out, hoping to glimpse whales or foreign ships. But now, the quiet of this ritual brings you comfort and the rain. The rain feels like a blessing. You pause again. Stretch your fingers. Reach for a small jar. Beside the hearth, inside, waxed thread, bone needles, a few sea-polished pebbles from the last festival, where the town gathered to honor Saint Corentin. You remember the feast-sold fish, apples, cider, and the faintly ridiculous parade of the giant papier-mâché sardine. Children danced. Even the stern old priest cracked a smile. You touch the stone in the jar smooth round, warm from your hand. It grounds you, then back to the net. Outside now, the tide is shifting. You can smell it through the cracked window wane. Earthy, mineral, perfume. Soon, the men will return. They will shout and laugh and carry crates. There will be news of fish or fights or the shape of the sea. But in this moment, this hour of mending and rain, you are alone with the net and the thread and the silent women who came before you. You wonder how many hands have worked this same pattern. How many nets have been mended, not for glory, but for need? How many women stitched and waited and hummed through storms? You blink. The fire has dimmed slightly. You reach to poke it with the iron rod, and the embers breathe a little brighter. Orange shadows dance across the stone floor. The smell of wool lingers. So does the sea dot, and so you return to the thread. Over, under, pull. Not because it is beautiful, not because it is grand, but because it is what must be done, because someone must prepare the nets, because the sea always returns. Asterisk, thank you. Now, let us gently return to that rain-soaked Breton world, where quiet hands keep old rhythms alive. Market days and morning scarves, the rain has faded to a mist. You wake early before the first. Gulls cry and slip your feet into wool stockings, your skirt into place. The fire has gone out. The room is still grey with pre-dawn, the walls damp from the sea air. You lace your bodice with cold fingers. Wool shawl, linen, cap, apron pocket, yes. The coins are there. A tiny cloth purse, carefully stitched, holding to sous and a dried lavender sprig. You nod to the saints as you pass the hearth. The wooden shelf above it holds to icon Saint Corentin and the Virgin of the Dunes, her paint flaking. You whisper a quick morning prayer, not out of piety, but out of pattern. Today is market day. The path to the town square curves along a row of stone cottages, their slate roofs slick with night rain. You walk alone at first, then, like tide pools, draining into a stream, other women emerge from doorways, joining the slow trickle toward Douane's heart. Most wear black shawls, some hum softly, a few carry wicker baskets. Others push handcarts, rattling with jars and cloth bundles. No one rushes. This is a place where time moves by the tide. Not the clock. As the town center nears, sound thickens. The low murmur of voices. The soft bleating of a tethered goat. The clunk of iron wheel on cobblestone at the edge of the square. Stands the old fish hola hollow, poor song its doors wide. and already damp from the fog rolling in from the harbor. Inside, you see the usual dot. Old Marinette is selling smoked sardines, their silver skins glinting in neat oiled rows. Two sisters from Plamark are trading cabbages for dyed wool. Children weave between legs and stalls like eels in a stream, clutching bits of bread or ribbon. And there, by the salt barrels, is the woman who sells mourning scarves. She is always here. You've never learned her name. Her scarves are black, all black, each one hand-stitched, hemmed with care, folded precisely ready for the next widow. You once asked her how she learned to sew like that. She only said, from loss. It is a peculiar kind of stall. She does not call out prices. She simply waits. Sometimes a woman arrives, clutching a kerchief and biting her lip. Sometimes a child comes, sent by a grandmother. Sometimes no one comes at all. But still, every market day, she is there. You pass her today and offer a small nod. She nods back. This morning, your purse is not for scarves. It is for thread. You make your way to old Eve's booth, the one with the dyed skeins from Quimper. You choose a deep brown, almost black, stronger than the last batch. You trade your tissues for the thread. He offers you a small bone needle, as well worn but smooth. You thank him, gently dot outside. The clouds shift. A shaft of light filters through, catching on the wet cobbles. You close your eyes for a moment and listen. The gulls, the slap of a fishtail, the rise and fall of old women's voices trading gossip like loaves. A story today: someone's cousin lost a boat near Morgat. No one died, just soaked and rescued. By monks, there's laughter, relief, the clink of ladles in tin cups of cider. You wonder how long this market has stood. How many pairs of shoes have worn down its stones? How many quiet transactions have passed, unnoticed by history? You sit by the edge of the square to rest. The low wall is damp, but your skirts are thick. From your pocket, you remove a crust of bread wrapped in a scrap of cloth. Nearby, two girls are singing in Breton, their voices high and imperfect. Imes du et amour échoues. In the black month, the sea breathes hard, ... The song is older than you, older than anyone here. Perhaps older than the market itself. You chew slowly, eyes half-lidded. There is no urgency here, just this square. Just this moment. A little later, you pass by the stone wall of the chapel. You run your fingers along it without thought, tracing mossy grooves, cool and faintly rough. Someone has left a small bouquet in a crevice, wild violets, damp with mist. You remember your aunt, who died 3 winters ago. She used to braid violets into your hair before the feast days. You haven't braided your hair in years. Perhaps you will when spring comes again. Perhaps you will when spring comes again. By noon, the market thins. The tide is low. The carts creak homeward. You walk slowly, your bundle of thread tucked beneath your shawl. Others wave to you, nod, or pass in silence. There is no need for chatter. Every woman here understands what it means to mend, to wait, to keep the net ready, even when storms come. Back in your cottage, you place the new thread on the shelf near the hearth. You light a small flame. The smell of peat and smoke curls around you like a shawl. You hear, distantly, the creak of boats returning. Not yours, not yet, but soon. The rain returns, soft whispering, kind. You smile. Another day has passed. You've mended what you can. Asterisk, thank you. Let us now return to Douarnenez one final time, where the sea, the thread, and the quiet strength of women carry us through the years. Asterisk widow's hands. Daughter's hands, the wind has changed. It rolls in now from the northwest, colder, rougher. The windows rattle softly in their frames, and the scent of the sea has turned less of sardines and more of stone and brine dot. It is late autumn. The year's turn is near. You are still here in your same stone cottage, though now there are more grey threads in your braid, more softness in the lines around your mouth. Your hands are no less strong, but the cold finds them more easily now. The net remains. The needle still fits between your fingers. And tonight, it is not you alone in this room. Your daughter sits across from you, knees tucked beneath her skirt, her own bit of net resting across her lap. She works slowly. She does not yet have your rhythm, but she tries. Her name is Lena. She has your eyes, but her father's mouth, always slightly amused, even when she is not smiling. He has been gone 5 years now. A quiet death, not at sea, as you had always feared, but here, at home. One quiet morning in November, his boots still sit by the door. Neither of you has the heart to move them. You glance over at Lena's work. She's missed a knot. You don't scold her. You never do. Instead, you point gently, tap the place with your finger, and she exhales and begins again. The thread moves through her fingers, and you watch not the net, but her hands. You remember, when they were small, how they used to tug at your apron, how she would cry when you pricked your thumb, how she would kiss the scratch with solemn reverence. Now she mends, not well, not quickly, but she mends, and that is enough. The fire crackles. You sit in companionable silence, the kind built only by years of shared mornings, quiet griefs, and boiled potatoes. Outside, the storm is building. You can hear it in the winds, pitch no longer playful, but urgent. The shutters thud once, then again. Still, you mend. Over, under, pull. Not she mimics you. Over, under. Pause, tangle, restart. It is a beautiful failure. You do not speak. Instead, you hum low, unthinking a tune from long ago. Your mother used to hum it. You never knew the words. Later, as the night deepens and the candle burns lower, Lena speaks. Mamang, did you ever want something else? You look up. Her eyes are not curious, they are searching. You rest the needle. Think, did you? Maybe, once. As a girl, you dreamed of Paris, of lace, of books, of a life without fish scales and salt stinging your cuticles. You even wrote a letter once. To a cousin in Nonskew, never sent it. You answer slowly, sometimes, but wanting doesn't always mean leaving. She nods, does not reply, and then, I think I'll stay. You nod too, say nothing more. When she sleeps, you stay up. You sit by the fire and finish the row she began. It is a little crooked, a little loose but honest. You tie the final knot from the window. You glimpse the sea, vast and dark. No stars tonight, only black water, moving like thought. You sip a little cider, warm from the hearth. Touch the bone needle with reverence. This was your mother's. Before that, her mother's. Tools passed down not for artistry, but for survival. Still, it feels sacred. You think of all the nets you've mended, thousands of knots, millions of motions, each one small, insignificant, maybe, but together they have kept a life afloat. You think of the days the boats came back full, and you danced in the square, of the days they did not return, and you waited in black for word, of laughter and potato soup and the smell of wet wool on warm skin. It has not been easy, but it has been enough. One day, this house will be Lena S. The wooden beams will creak in the same winter winds. The hearth will still burn peat and pine, and she will mend with younger hands on evenings like this. You wonder if she will remember your humming, if she will sing to her own child one day as she loops thread through salt-damp nets. You hope she will. The storm is louder now, but the walls hold strong. So does the rhythm. Over, under, pull. Not a ritual older than memory. A ritual you will carry as long as your hands allow. And so the women of Dwarnin continue, silent as moonlight, steady as tide, weavers of nets, wielders of thread, bearers of quiet legacy. Asterisk, thank you. Let us now drift from the stormy coasts of Brittany to a different rhythm, one spun not by thread and tide, but by shadow, incense, and the hush of an ancient candlelit BATHHOUSE ... Asterisk. Story 2. The steam that carried prayers, ritual baths of Heion. Kyoto asterisk, entering the smoke-hung chamber, you are barefoot. The wooden floor is warm beneath your soles, polished smooth by years of passage. You walk slowly, past paper screens and swaying lanterns, deeper into the complex each step drawing you closer to the quietest part of the city, though it hums not with silence, but with steam. The bathhouse is hidden behind a lacquered gate, near the foot of a hillside shrine. Outside, Heiankyo buzzes with ox-drawn carts and the rustle of silk sleeves. But here, only your breath matters. You have entered a yaya, an aristocratic bathing hall of the late Heian period. The year is 1096. The emperor's court is preoccupied with poetry contests, cherry blossom omens, and the rumor of snow. You, however, are here for purification, not of the body alone, but of the soul. Your attendant bows and draws back a curtain. At once, warm vapor greets your face. It carries the scent of hinoki, cypress, damp straw, and powdered cloves. Candles gutter behind thin paper lanterns, their lights stretching long across the mist. You bow slightly, then you enter. Inside, the air is thick and slow. Sound is muffled. Even footsteps dissolve. The room is low and dim, with cedar planks underfoot and wooden slats along the walls. The steam curls from a hidden channel, a trench fed by underground springs, diverted and blessed by priests decades ago. This is not a bath in the modern sense. There is no tiled tub, no running tap. Instead, heat and moisture are drawn upward from a heated stone trench, and your body is warmed by proximity like drying ink on parchment held over flame. You kneel beside a basin. The basin is bronze, wide and shallow. Inside it rests a soft cloth, folded into quarters. A gentle servant pours warm water from a lacquered ladle. You hear it before you feel it. A smooth glug, then the rippling pour. The cloth is passed to you. You wipe your face slowly, forehead, cheeks, chin. This is the first layer of unburdening. You are not simply cleaning dust from skin. You are softening the places where thought clings too tightly. In the far corner of the chamber, a small altar glows. It is not grand, only a carved wooden stand with 3 offerings: white rice, dried persimmon, and a branch of evergreen. Above, it hangs a prayer tablet. Zasharakta kyome, shizukesa, futatabi kokoro e. Purification, stillness, and the return to heart. You bow toward it, once, then twice, then you disrobe. There is no shame here. only the shared ritual of letting go. Your robe folds neatly beside your sandals. You wear only a simple undergarment now, and a towel wrapped loosely around your shoulders. The air kisses your skin warm, damp, electric. A servant hands you a bowl of water infused with crushed ginger and pine ash. You sip slowly. It is not meant to be pleasant. It is meant to remind you that warmth can come from within. Nearby, another bather murmurs a poem. Steam hides the self. The mirror fades. I am only breath and skin and fog. You do not know her name. You do not need. Next, you sit atop a low bench of camphor wood. A second cloth, cooler than before, is pressed to the back of your neck. You close your eyes. Time softens. The world outside fades along with its scrolls, and sandals, and silver combs. The attendant brings a bowl of yuzu hot water steeped with floating citrus fruits. You lift one. Its skin is imperfect. Its weight is real. You squeeze it gently into the water. A small burst of zest rises, a reminder that life is sometimes sharp. You move now to the stone floor near the steam trench. It radiates warmth through your thighs as you sit cross-legged, towel draped around your shoulders like a monk's stole. This is where people come to unlace their thoughts. In the Heion court, diaries are more trusted than confidants. Poetry is preferred over plain speech. Silence, above all, is elegance. And yet, here in the bathhouse, one may sigh aloud without fear. A soft bell rings. Not for you, but for another. It signals that their time has ended, their ritual complete, their breath, perhaps, lighter. You watch as the attendant rolls open a screen, letting in a gust of cool, pine-sweetened air. The departing bather bows. Her hair is damp. Her eyes bright, unburdened. She does not speak. You return your gaze to the steam beneath your fingers. The grain of the wooden bench is smooth. You trace it absently, then pause. This bathhouse has stood here longer than you have lived. Its beams were once trees that knew the voices of cranes. Its floor remembers centuries of footsteps, all seeking the same quiet renewal. Somewhere above, incense burns, sandalwood and plum bark. You breathe in, the steam touches your skin, and your bones hum the woman who bathed the empress there. Corridors beyond the bathing room narrow. Here, the ceilings are lower, and the steam is denser. The air carries a sweetness part rice powder, part camellia oil. You are no longer a guest in this story. You are Kyoko, a middle-aged court attendant. Born to a family of scribes, your hands were once trained to hold brushes, but instead they hold basins. Your task is not to write history, but to steady it, because today you will bathe the Empress. The year is 1101. Empress Tokushi, consort of Emperor Horikawa, has requested the purification ceremony in the private bathing chambers of the imperial residence. She does not speak often. She does not smile easily, and yet she chooses you again and again for this sacred task. You rise early, before the sun, before the carp in the pond stir, before even the crows begin their ritual cries. The floor is cool under your feet. You move silently through corridors of painted screens and lacquered walls, carrying a small bundle, a folded cloth, a sachet of finely ground mugwort, and a comb carved from cherry wood. The world outside these walls moves fast. Trivers rise and temples fall, but in this space, time is soaked and softened like a silken kimono left in rain. You prepare. The chamber, the stone floor is scrubbed with pine ash. Candles are lit in recessed alcoves, casting a gentle amber glow. A copper basin is filled with steaming water infused with lotus root and dried orange peel. This is not a bath of vanity. It is a rite of renewal. The Empress has recently lost a child stillborn in the early winter. The court does not speak of it aloud, but here, in this ritual, there is acknowledgement, not with words, but with warmth. She enters without ceremony. Two handmaidens fold away the silk curtain, and she steps forward, barefoot and silent. You bow low. Your head nearly touches the floor. Then she sits. She does not meet your eyes. She does not need to. You begin with the comb. Her hair is long, black and heavy. It falls past her waist like a waterfall of ink. You lift it gently, starting from the ends. The comb glides through the strands with practiced ease, and a few loose hairs catch in your palm. You do not drop them. Later, you will burn them over. White rice. As the old priest instructed, this is cleansing. This is continuity. Next comes the cloth. You dip it in warm water. Wring it slowly and press it to her shoulders. The skin is pale, near translucent. The Empress flinches, just slightly more from memory than heat. You murmur softly, "May the burdens of the body return to the earth." It is the only phrase permitted aloud in this rite. You continue, neck, arms, palms, then the soles of her feet, calloused slightly despite her noble status. The path to the shrine is stone. She walks it barefoot in spring, by choice. She believes in suffering, but more than that, she believes in returning. The Empress does not speak, but her breath deepens. The tension at the base of her neck slackens her. Sin, you place a folded cloth soaked in cool water across her brow. She does not move. The candle beside her flickers once, then steadies. You do not rush. Each movement is a petition. Each rinse, a reverence. The steam softens the hard lines of grief. Not to erase them, but to carry them for a while, like a servant holding a heavy screen while her mistress passes through at last. You pour the final bowl of water. This one is laced with powdered pearl. It is said to bring peace to the spirit and clarity to dreams. You drizzle it slowly over her hands. Her fingers twitch. A memory, perhaps, or a letting dash go. She rises, robe clinging slightly to damp skin. You hold it closed for her, then step back. She turns to leave, but then pause, just once. The Empress meets your eyes, and though she says nothing, the gaze is full. It is the closest thing to gratitude you will ever receive, and it is enough later. You wash the basin, you burn the hair, you fold the cloths, you hum a lullaby you once heard sung to a child in the palace nursery. You never knew who the mother was, but you remember the tune. You carry the silence of these rituals in your bones. You wonder how many others like you. There have been women who held sorrow with quiet hands, and rinsed history without ever writing a word. Outside, the bell in the pagoda rings 3 times. The city turns. The poets stir. The court debates moonlight and precedent. But here, the room remains warm, scented with citrus, candle wax, and the trace of something older than grief, steam and silence. Thank you. Let us now step softly into the final chamber of this story, where steam fades, memory lingers, and the rituals of Heian Kyoto drift gently into the past. ... Asterisk. The bathhouse that outlasted a city you are older now. The palace is distant, and the courtly poems no longer reach your ears. The Empress you once bathed passed into legend, and her name is now spoken only in hushed, reverent tones if at all. But the bathhouse still stands, tucked behind the old shrine, its walls darkened. By age, its roof moss-covered, but still upright. Still warm, still waiting. You sit on the edge of the wooden porch. It is late autumn. The ginkgo leaves have turned bright gold, and a few drift gently across the water basin near your feet. Your hands, once swift and silent, now tremble slightly. As they pour warm water from a ladle, the scent of hinoki still rises. There is no one here to bathe, but you perform the ritual anyway. It is not a habit. It is not nostalgia. It is memory in motion. The bathhouse has changed. The servants are gone. The Empress no longer visits, but the steam still carries meaning. Each coil of vapor that rises from the heated stones still carries with it a history too soft for parchment, too quiet for record, and your wrinkled, still kneeling are the last vessel of those stories. You remember the first time you walked these halls. You were 16, unsure of your hands, worried about the precise way to fold a robe. You had feared dropping the basin, feared speaking too loudly, feared failing to earn your place. Now, your place is all that remains. The floorboards creak beneath you, but they do not complain. They know your step. They remember your breath. They remember hers. To dot you reach for the comb. It's worn smooth, the cherry wood darkened by decades of use. You run it gently through your own hair. It is silver now, but the motion is the same. Downward, pausing at a tangle, waiting, breathing, then continuing. A young girl passes outside, laughing. Perhaps a new attendant. Perhaps a child chasing a stray cat. She pauses briefly at the gate, peeking through the slats, curious. Then she runs off. You wonder if she felt the warmth. There were times, after the Great Fire, when the bathhouse nearly vanished. Ash hung over the city for days. Whole wings of the court collapsed. Scrolls turned to dust. But this place endured, not because it was grand, not because it was guarded, but because it was remembered, and because somewhere, someone still believed in quiet restoration. You dip your cloth again. The water is just right, neither too hot nor too cool. The perfect balance, as it always was. You wipe your hands, your arms, your face. Then you press the cloth to your chest, where memory is thickest, where her name still lingers. Not as an empress, but as a woman who once bowed her head to yours in silence. It will not be long now. You feel your breath slowing, your spine aches, but not sharply more, like an old drawer that slides gently shut. The steam wraps around you one last time. You close your eyes, and in that moment, you are 16 again. You are folding cloths, you are lighting a candle. You are bowing before someone who has forgotten how to weep, and you are there, entirely dot when they find you. Hours later, you are seated, upright, still wrapped in your towel. There is a small smile on your lips. The bowl beside you still steams faintly, like an incense offering left behind by time. And in the room, a hush so deep and delicate, it could only belong to someone who knew the true meaning of silence. The bathhouse will close that winter. The walls will darken further. The stones grow cold, but the stories, they linger in the grain of the wood, in the shape of the comb, in the steam that rises each time someone, somewhere, seeks stillness. The next spring, a new building will rise in its place. A small library, modest and clean. No one will remember who first built it, but a small plaque by the entrance will read, "Here once stood a house of quiet waters and quiet women. Their hands carried peace." And somewhere beneath that floor, in the soil still damp with old steam, your story will rest. not forgotten, just dot dot dot, softened like linen, like breath, like time. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place, dot dot dot, asterisk, thank you. Let us now journey far from Kyoto's hushed baths to the rocky shores of northern France where wind-bitten mornings and salted nets cradle a quieter kind of strength, dot dot. Story 3. When Breton fisherwomen mended nets to the rhythm of rain, asterisk, the wind off Peenpole. Bay you wake before the sun. The thatch above your head is damp from the night's rain, and you hear the wooden creak of shutters straining against the wind. Beyond them, the sea, and beside it Pimple, a small fishing town on the northern coast of Brittany. In the year 1887, the tide moves in the dark, and you move with it. You are Lenny, daughter of a fisherman, sister of 2 sailors, but you mend nets. Your fingers are worn and quick, and in your small stone cottage, you know the rhythm of rope better than the rhythm of prayer. The sea gives, and it takes, but in between, it waits. And in that waiting, you work. The floor beneath you is cold. You pull a shawl tight across your shoulders and light a stub of candle on the table. It flares, then steadies just enough to cast the faintest glow across the long stretch of netting coiled like a sleeping beast in the corner. Your tools are simple: a wooden shuttle, a curved needle, a knife passed down from your mother. They are worn smooth by the salt and your hands. Outside, the rain begins again, thin, steady, tapping softly on the clay roof tiles. It is a sound you've known all your life in Brittany. Rain is a presence, not an inconvenience, not an inconvenience, not a constant voice whispering over land and sea. Dot. It keeps time, and it keeps you company. You settle at the table. The net is full of small tears, knots pulled too tight by a heavy catch, frayed cords worn by barnacles. You start at one edge, loop, pull, tighten, loop, pull, tighten. The same motion your mother made, the same her mother made before her. There are no machines here, no loom, no factory wheel, only hands and rain and memory. Dot. You know these knots by feel. You could work them in the dark and often have. Sometimes you doze as you mend, your fingers continuing without pause. The body remembers what the mind need not. You once tied clean knots in your sleep. Your sister Jean counted the cottage smells of salt, wool, and onions. A pot of soup sits simmering over the coals. Barley and fish bones, the kind of soup that fills the belly slowly, without grandeur. You live simply. You always have. There are girls in town who dream of Paris, of lace gloves and music halls, but you dream of dry nets, of your brothers returning in one piece, of a morning without wind. The sun finally breaks the horizon. A pale yellow light seeps in through the shutters. You pause only to look out the window, beyond the fence. The sea foam froths along the stone. Harbor, 2 boats rock in place. The Marie Claire, painted blue, is already gone out before dawn. Its sails swallowed by mist. You trace their path in your mind. You know where the sandbars rise, where the cod swim deep, where the sea has taken men before. You mend faster now. The holes are smaller near the center, easier to miss, but dangerous if left undone. A single missed knot can cost a full day's catch, and the winter is coming. The men will sail farther, longer, through rougher tides. They'll be gone for weeks at a time, some, even months. Your mending may mean the difference between fish or famine. You tie each knot like it matters, because it does you. Hear footsteps, A knock at the door. Soft, hesitant. It is Ord, the neighbor. Girl, she is 12, tall for her age, and already smells like salt and wool. She peeks in. "May I help?" she asks. You nod, without looking up. She takes the end of the net. Her fingers are clumsy, but eager. You guide her once, then let her find her own rhythm. Loop, pull, tighten. Rain drips from her fringe, and she smiles without teeth. You speak little. There is nothing urgent to say. The net teaches her what she needs, and the rain keeps time. The two of you sit for hours, surrounded by the scent of the sea and the soft whistle of the wind. Outside, the rain falls steady. Inside, the knots tightened clean. No one writes songs for women like you. No statues are carved, but in your hands, the day mends itself. At noon, you rise. You stretch your back, pour broth into bowls, and hand one to Ord. She eats with both hands, wrapped around the ceramic, like it holds the last warmth on earth. You sit again, and you hum, not a song exactly, just a sound your mother used to make when the wind came in from the north. A lullaby with no words, a thread between storms as the sun dips again, the rain finally eases. The net is whole once more, its shape long and taut, its surface lined with small, clean scars, like a map dot of days, of weather, of work. You hang it near the stove, where it will dry slow and even earns. Aude runs home just as the first nightbirds begin to sing. You watch her go, a small shadow skipping puddles. You sit a moment. Longer, the fire crackles low. The net rustles slightly as it settles in the heat. You wrap your shawl tight again and close your eyes. Tomorrow there will be more tears to mend, more knots to tie, more quiet hours where you listen to the rhythm of rain. Asterisk, thank you. Let us return to the coast of Brittany, where the tides turn. The gulls cry, and quiet hands continue to mend what the sea has worn thin, ... Asterisk, the widow's table and the cod that never came you are sitting at Madame Le Goff's table. It is late, November now, and outside the harbor groans under wind that smells of coming frost. The wooden shutters rattle, the oil lamp sputters, and yet there is comfort here. Not warmth exactly, but endurance. And in places like Pimple, that is often enough. Madame Le Goff is 73. She has lived through 2 wars, a famine, and 6 lost sons. Her eyes are foggy now, her gait slow, but her fingers still precise. They do not tremble. They move like water across cordage, knotting, testing, mending. She touches the net like it still matters, and perhaps it does. She speaks in the old Tungalo, a soft Breton dialect that rolls like distant surf. You don't catch every word, but you understand her tone. It is the tone of women who've stopped expecting the sea to return what it takes. Still, they mend, because even ghosts deserve nets without holes. The table is thick oak, stained from decades of salt and broth. On its surface sit a basket of eel bones, a jar of pickled garlic, and a cracked stone bowl filled with dry cod spines, offerings of a house that feeds itself from what others forget. You sip broth from a ladle. It tastes of pepper, lemon, and stories you've never heard aloud. Madame Le Goff's hands pause over a particularly gnarled tear in the net. Her voice drops lower. She tells you about the winter of 1854. The boats had not returned. The sky had stayed grey for 13 straight days. And on the 14th, a single sail came back, carrying not fish, but news. No names, only numbers. only numbers, and still. She says, the nets had to be mended. You look down at the net you share between you. This one is old, perhaps 30 years. The cords are rough, almost stiff with age, but it still holds its shape. It's not for fishing anymore, not really. Now it's just ritual, something to keep hands moving, to keep breath steady, to remind. The bones, they still belong to the living. The wind picks up outside. Somewhere a shutter slams. A dog howls, Madame Le Goff sighs, then chuckles. I once tied knots while giving birth, she says, slowly. In her mixed Breton-French, you raise your eyes. She nods, serious. Didn't want the net to sit idle. You. Believe her, there is an unspoken rule in these cottages. No idle hands. No loud grief. No clocks, if you can help it. Only the rhythm of work, the rhythm of rain, and the rhythm of absence as night deepens. The lamplight shrinks to a low golden pool across the netting. You begin to lose track of time. There is something meditative about the repetition. Loop, pull, tighten. Loop, pull, breathe. Each knot becomes a bead on an invisible rosary. But instead of prayers, you murmur weather reports, tide patterns, sail shapes, fish sizes, the things that make up a life. Beside the sea, eventually, Madame Le Goff drifts off in her chair, her hands still resting in the cords, her mouth slack, her breath shallow. You finish the final row alone, then gently cover her with a wool shawl that smells faintly of mint and vinegar. You do not wake her. She will stir when her bones remind her. It's time to sleep in bed. Or perhaps not. You step outside. The night is ink. Clouds churn above the sea. But the moon glows just enough to silver the edges of the harbor. The boats bob gently dot. One or two lanterns blink in the distance. Far out beyond the shoals, fishermen still working the deeper tides. You wonder if your brother is among them, or if he is, by now, salt and memory. You walk along the shoreline for a while, not far just to the edge of the stone breakwater, where gulls sleep and old nets rot. There's a bench there, carved with initials half-yearsed by time. You sit, the wind bites your cheeks, but you do not flinch. You close your eyes, and for a moment, the creak of ropes, the hush of tide, and the low whistle of air feel like lullabies sung by hands instead of mouths. Back at your own cottage, the hearth has gone cold, but the net you mended this morning is dry, now neatly folded and ready. You touch it gently as you pass, not out of pride, not even out of affection, out of respect for what it holds, for what it has held, for what it may yet carry again. You lie, down fully clothed, too tired to change, too full of wind and thought to care. You close your eyes, and in the dark, you feel the old table beneath your hands, the warp of twine, the hush of rain on clay tiles, the quiet companionship of those who understand loss without ever naming it. Threads between generations, the morning is unusually still. No wind, no gulls, no knock at the door. Even the sea feels like it's waiting. You rise slowly. Your shawl clings to you with the faint damp of yesterday's mist. A ribbon of fog curls. Beneath the doorframe, you press your palm to the old wooden latchets, cold as stone. Outside, the world feels held in place. And in that hush, something stirs. Today is the last Sunday before the deep winter mending season begins. The men will soon depart for Icelandic waters, some for 3 months, others for 6. Pimpole will empty of its youth. The taverns will fall. Quiet. Only the older women and children will remain, scattered like dolls along the rocky coast. It is the season of hands, of thread, of waiting. You walk down to the harbor. The nets have been hauled out and laid along the stone wall, sun-bleached, stiff, almost brittle. A row of women gather in loose silence. Some bend, some squat on crates. One or two hum as they work. You take your place among them. Someone passes you a basket of broken floats and twisted hemp. You do not speak, there is no need. You recognize. Every face here, Madame Le Goff is not among them. Her chair by the harbor wall sits folded, her basket unopened. AUDE is though. 12 no longer. Her fingers are now surer, the pace of her work smoother. She does not notice you at first. She is focused. Her eyes scan each tear with the concentration of someone who has begun to understand that this is more than a tasket, is a language. A girl beside you asks how to mend a doubled loop. You take her hands gently in yours and show her. You do not say much, just a touch here, a slow guiding motion there. She watches, then tries herself. Loop, pull, tighten. You nod. She beams, the net passes on. So does the skill and the silence. Someone begins to sing. A low, slow air in Bretna. Melody older than memory. Perhaps even older than the harbor wall itself. The women join, one by one. Their voices layer over the hush of tide-like threads in the net. It is not a song of joy nor sorrow. It is a song of continuing, of being present, of holding awed. Leans toward you. She tells you that Jean has written from Quimpershee as well. Her husband fishes from a larger boat now. They own a real window. You smile, then Ord adds, hesitantly, that she may go next spring, to Loor Yang, perhaps. Maybe even Saint Nazaire. She wants to learn to dye fabric. Something with color. She says, you nod again. The nets here are always gray. Midday comes, steam rises from mugs of chicory coffee and thin fish stew. A dozen hands cradle heat. The talk remains low, scattered, comfortable. There is no need to mark. The hour, no bell. No hurry. The weather, like the work, will tell you when it's time to stop. Later, the sky darkens unexpectedly. A wind picks up from the northeast. The harbor begins to shift. Ropes groan. Nets lift slightly at their edges. Rain. Again, you all gather your tools quickly, but without panic. This is not danger. Just weather. Another rhythm returning. AUD laughs as the first drops hit her nose. She's wearing your old shawl frayed but mended. Back at your cottage. The net you started that morning is nearly done. The rain plays gently on the window. The fire hisses. You work slower now. Not out of weariness, but out of reverence. You think of your mother. She mended nets until her final week. Her fingers shook near the end, but she tied clean knots until the last. You never heard her complain. She said the sea didn't listen anyway. A soft knock comes. It's Ord. She carries a small bundle. Your repaired basket from last week. A pouch of sea salt, and a folded scrap of linen with stitched initials, .yours, double quotes. Found it in Madame Le Goff's cottage, she says. She must have kept it. You touch the fabric. It smells faintly of laurel and ash. You thank her without speaking. She nods, then leaves. You sit by the fire with the cloth in your lap. Your fingers trace the stitches slowly. Each letter is crooked, but each one holds, like the knots in your nets, like the names on the harbor wall, like the women who stay behind and keep the thread moving. Night falls, the wind eases, Somewhere you hear a boat's bell echo once, then fade. You do not know whose boat it is. Perhaps it is no one's. Perhaps it is just the sea reminding you that it is still here, still listening, still waiting to be answered in chord and care and quiet songs. You look once more at your net now fully mended, drying in the firelight, and you wonder not aloud, but inwardly, what is it we carry when we mend what will be broken again? A kind of love, perhaps, or maybe just remembrance. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place, ... Asterisk, wonderful. Story 3 is now complete. When you're ready, we can begin outlining or drafting story for 4 when Breton fisherwomen mended nets to the rhythm of rain. Would you like to proceed with story title ideas for the next one? Or do you already have a theme in mind? Story 4, Baskets of Rain. Market day beneath the palm roofs of old Malacca. The rhythm of arrival. Good evening, friend. Dim your light. Settle into stillness. Let the sounds of your world soften until all that remains is a hush and perhaps the memory of distant rain. Tonight we journey slowly through puddled alleys, beneath palm-frond awnings, into the quiet heartbeat of a place once known as Mela Cay. The year is 1674, and you are here, just in time for market day. The first drops fall in the dark, before the bells of dawn. You hear them before you feel them, soft spatters on the roof thatch. Above, rhythmic, familiar. You've risen to this sound since childhood. Rain is the backdrop of Malacca's breath. It comes with the wind from the straits, with salt. With memory, your mat is still warm as you step away. There is no need for haste. The market won't fill for another hour, and the wet streets will take time to wake. You fold your shawl over your shoulder, tuck your coin string beneath your tunic, and ease your basket into place behind your elbow. The basket is older than you, soaked through, smelling of ginger and driftwood. Its weave is loosening near the lip butt, not broken, not yet, outside. The town murmurs, no voices, yet just water. Water from rooftops, from cracked clay eaves, from overflowing barrels. From the sky, it is not a heavy range, just steady, a kind of song. You take your steps slow, sandals brushing puddles. The way to the market is not far, just 5 alleys down, and one right turn at the quiet well with the banyan root wrapped round its stone. You pass, shutters still latched, doors held shut by smooth sea pebbles. But ahead, beneath the palm roofs there is light. The marketplace never sleeps entirely. Even now, a boy is crouched, lighting an oil dish near the spice arcade. Its wick hisses. Smoke curls upward, sweet with cinnamon and dried cloves. You nod to him. He nods back. Nothing more is needed. The smell of morning in Malacca is always this: smoke, wet stone, fermented rice, and the sharp high note of pickled green mango. The stalls begin to open, one by one. Palm mats are lifted, canopies shaken, tables wiped with old linen. You take your place beneath the narrow awning of Auntie Wound's lentil and dunion stall. She's not your aunt by blood, but she's watched you grow tall. You help her lay out the oil jars. She grunts a thanks without looking up. This is how mornings begin, not with words, but with habit. Others join. A Tamil man lays woven garlands across his wooden cart. His fingers are stained yellow with turmeric and crushed marigold. A Javanese woman rolls out rice cakes wrapped in banana leaves, stacked in pairs like green wings. She hums a lullaby as she works soft and circular, like the cakes themselves. Two boys drag a crate of sea-caught fish through the mud, each muttering in a different language. You recognize the mix: Malay Tamil, Bubba, Malay Hokkien, Portuguese, Dutch. Malacca is made of these. Auntie Woon hands you a round of dried anchovies to sort. Your fingers move with memory pluck, separate, bundle. You try not to crush them, even dried. The bones remain sharp. She grumbles something about the Portuguese taxing spice weights again. You nod, though you only understand half. She speaks. In fragments, some Baba, some old Cantonese. You've never needed a full translation. Her meaning always finds you. A bell rings somewhere behind the fortress walls. The proper day begins. Shutters open. Footsteps quicken. More voices join the murmur. The rain lessens, but never stops. A man from the northern Kampung arrives with firewood, bundles bound in rattan cord. A girl with a copper bowl of tamarind paste trades you a pinch for a wedge of pickled radish. Your basket begins to fill. 2 bruised papayas, 3 cups of dried lentils, a cracked jar of lamp oil, a strip of woven cane for patching you. Give up 2 coins, 1 handful of rice, and a string of dried ginger nuts. In exchange, no one counts. Everyone knows the weight of things. A customer points to your basket. He asks what the ginger is for. You say, tea, mostly. Sometimes fever, sometimes stomach. He nods, then tells you of his mother's recipe for ginger boiled with rock sugar and garlic skin. You've never tried it. You say you might. He smiles once, then disappears back into the shifting crowd. A flute starts up near the chilly stall. A child plays it badly, but with joy. Several people groan. Auntie Woon pretends not to hear. You hand the child a bit of sesame cracker. They grin, mouth full, and the flute pauses. Peace returns. Rain picks up. Again, near midday, traders drag out the palm leaf panels, angled downward to let the water run off. You lean back and listen to it drum. Somewhere, someone sneezes. The clay under your feet is soft now, dark, slick. Your hem is damp. You think of heading home soon. Auntie Woon hands you a half-wrapped packet of candied coconut. She doesn't say, "Why?" You nod and pocket it. As you rise, your basket heavier. The scent of pomelo blossoms brushes the air. A ship must have come in this morning, carrying crates from Johar or farther. You hear the gulls now, and the faint echo of sailors' shouts. But you do not go to the docks. The market is enough. The rain, the roof thatch, the rhythm of barter. This is your harbor. You take the long way home, past the quiet mosque, past the shuttered bakery, past the old banyan, where names are carved in 5 scripts. A boy passes you, carrying a basket heavier than yours. He stumbles. You catch him. He thanks you. You nod. The rain falls. The world breathes, and the market begins to fold away into memory until tomorrow. Asterisk. Palm roofs and quiet professions. The rain doesn't stop when you return home. It never truly does this time of year. It softens to mist, thickens to a curtain, lifts into steam, then returns. Inside, you unpack slowly the bundle of lentils, the jar of lamp oil, the sesame cracker, still dry in your pocket. Auntie Woon's candied coconut sits on your mat like an unopened letter. You leave, it untouched. Your home is simple: woven red mat, low table, clay stove and small iron pot. 2 shelves, 1 for daily. Tools, 1 for memory. Above your window hangs a charm made from old fishbone, brass wire, and a single dried chili. Your grandmother made it, you think. Or maybe her sister. No one remembers now, but it's never been removed. You boil water with slivers of ginger, pour it into a chipped clay cup, and sit. Rain patters against the walls. The city outside stirs gently, but your quarter is quiet now. Most of the market women have gone to rest. Some will nap, some will mend dart. Some, like you, will do neither, only sit and sip and listen. Malacca, in the 1600s, is a place of layered breath. It exhales in many languages. Never at once. Outside your window, two women argue softly in Portuguese about the cost of laundry starch. One is barefoot, balancing a child on her hip. The other is half covered in a scarf sewn from 4 different cloths. You think you recognize them, but you don't interrupt. You remember stories of what the market used to be, before the Dutch, before the Portuguese, before even the Sultanate. Your grandfather spoke of long barges that used to glide down the river, ferrying silks wrapped in banana leaves. He said the air once smelled of cardamom and burned sandalwood. Not lamp oil, but he was always half telling stories, half dreaming. You prefer what you know. You once thought of selling oilcloths, like your cousin. She had 3 rolls of Dutch dyed canvas, once printed with little blue lions. She never sold them. They grew musty and stiff in her trunk. Last year, she married a man from the Upper Hill Quarter and gave them away. Now she brews vinegar and sells it in jars. You've stayed. The market is your morning, and sometimes your afternoon. When the rains grow heavy, you retreat beneath the palm roofs. Again, not to sell, but to wait. That's where you head now. Afternoon in the Malacca market is quieter than morning. Most traders have packed away their things. Children run through puddles, shouting. Cats crouch beneath stalls, watching fish scraps wash by. You see him again, the man who asked about ginger. This time, he's carrying a bundle of waxcloth and humming an old tune. You still don't know his name. A friend calls to you from under a $2 awning. It's Layla, the girl who once mended sails for the spice boats. She no longer sails, but she trades stories now for coins, or tea, or nothing at all. You join her beneath the shade. She's sipping sugarcane water from a cracked glass. You sip some to Dot. No words for a while. Layla talks about the woman who makes buttons from coconut shell. You know her. She lives down by the second well, near the roosters. Layla says the woman's buttons are sent up the coast, sometimes even as far as Goa. You wonder aloud, do the people there know who carved them? Layla shrugs. They think only of the cloth. The rain is steady again. Layla wraps a bit of linen over her shoulder and starts peeling betel nut. She offers you some. You decline. She laughs, still soft of stomach. You nod. She leans back and starts talking about dreams. Dreams, in Malacca, are passed down more than remembered. Your grandmother used to say that if a cat sleeps on your threshold, it's a sign of old wishes returning. You've had 2 cats this week. You say so, Layla. Laughs again. Then maybe they want their turn at the market. A bell sounds from the Old Dutch, WATCHTOWER. It's not for you, but its chime floats down into the wet alleys, like a whisper from another world. Layla finishes her beetle, wipes her fingers on a rag, and rises. She's headed to the sea quarter. She says someone needs a story. Before sleep you remain. There's no rush. You watch the water gather beneath the clay drainage paths. You see a small green frog hop twice and vanish. You count 5 baskets abandoned in the corner. One of them looks like yours, but it is in single quotes. Evening comes like a shawl drawn over the town. The last lanterns of the day, the night comes without ceremony. No fanfare, no flare of color, only dimness, softening around the edges of doorways and down the quiet ridges of thatched roofs. Your fingers trail the wall as you return from the mark it one final time, this time without purpose, just to walk, to listen, to remember the feel of earth beneath your sandals before the clay hardens with morning heat. Down one alley, lanterns have begun to appear, lit from within, flickering like fireflies caught behind skin-thin parchment. A boy balances, 3 of them across his arm, careful not to let them brush the walls. You watch as he places one at the steps of the mosque, another beside the banyan root well, and the last near the rice granary where the hens nest among sacks. The glow is uneven. Mellow, you linger to feel the warmth. From one, it's faint, but it finds your cheek. These hours belong to the ones who clean, who sort, who prepare for tomorrow. Behind closed shutters, women untangle baskets of damp reed, scraping away rot. A man crouches under a stall, replacing a cracked leg with a bamboo wedge. You hear someone sharpening knives with long, circular strokes. A child sings under their breath. These are the sounds of a town winding down. You walk past the silversmiths. Quartered by day, it rings with clinks and shouts, tiny hammers tapping out bracelets, buttons, hinge dash, CLA, SPS. But at this hour, the sounds are gentler. You hear the smith's apprentice humming to himself as he sweeps brass filings into a leather pouch. Even dust here is worth keeping. The air smells of tamarind and rain-damp rice husks. A pair of fishwives sit cross-legged under a sagging canvas sheet, talking low over dried squid. Their hands move even as they speak, never still. You pause when one of them gestures to you. She offers a slice of pickled lime. You accept. The taste is sharp then, sweet then gone. A brief encounter. A moment passed. Later, you reach the bend. In the street where the palm roofs meet, overhead 2 rows of houses, leaning toward each other like whispering sisters. A boy is drawing on the ground with charcoal. Not letters, just spirals. He does not look up as you pass. His mother watches from a doorway, her head wrapped in blue cloth, eyes half closed. She smiles faintly when you greet her. No words needed. The rain holds steady, never hard, never absent. A presence like breath. You make your way to the back lane, the narrow path behind the Spice Arcade. Here, the air is thick with the ghosts of clove and coriander. Even the brick seems infused with scent. You stop near the corner wall. There, someone has left a bundle wrapped in banana leaves. It's still warm, probably food left for someone, or perhaps a temple offering. You don't touch it. You simply sit near it for a while, beside the rain, beside the scent, beside everything and nothing. You think of the basket in your room, still damp at the base, still fragrant with turmeric and sea air. Its bottom is fraying slightly now. You'll mend it tomorrow, or the day after. You imagine the market again rebuilding itself as dawn returns. The call of the traders, the splash of footfall, the rhythm of hands passing produce, pressing coins, folding cloth. You picture Auntie Woon arranging her oil jars. You think of Layla carrying her stories into the sea quarter again. You rise only when the last lantern flickers low. The clay is cool beneath your feet. The wind has shifted, again carrying the scent of crushed lemongrass and wet rope from the docks. The ships are at rest now. You are too. When you reach home, the ginger tea has cooled. You drink it anyway. You unwrap the candied coconut and take a single bite. It tastes like memory. You lie back. The roof thatch creaks slightly overhead, and still, the rain continues, soft, steady. A song for sleeping towns and sleeping you. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place. Story 5. The Clogmaker's Song, Daily Life Along the Canals of Old Leiden. Asterisk. Before the first shoe is carved. Good evening, dear friend. Settle down once more beneath your quilt, behind soft curtains, beside the hush of another gently forgotten world. Tonight, the rain has stopped, but in the cobbled town of Old Leiden, the stones still glisten beneath pale Dutch moonlight. You hear water lapping at canal walls, the soft creak of a window opening above you, and the dull rhythm of wooden soles on worn wooden stairs. You are here. It is early spring, sometime in the 18th century. And today, you'll follow a clogmaker. But not yet. Let us begin before the first shoe is carved. You awaken to the sound of gulls wheeling over a sluggish canal. Their cries bounce off red-tiled rooftops, mingling with the scent of wet peat smoke and boiled grain. The day begins not with haste, but with routine. Someone is rinsing cabbage leaves outside their back door. Someone else is brushing melted wax off a window pane with a small goose feather fan. A distant church bell chimes 6 times, low and uneven. The day has begun. Your room is small and smells of pine dust. Beneath your bed, shavings from yesterday's. Carvings still rest in tiny curls, like browned petals. You'll sweep them later. For now, your hands are stiff from the cold. You pour tepid water into a shallow bowl. Scrub your fingers briefly and stretch each thumb to life. The window is fogged. You clear a small circle and peer out. A milk cart rattles past, wheels squeaking. The driver whistles tunelessly. You whistle back so softly, even you barely hear it. Downstairs, your tools wait. There's a low bench, stained from use. A box of half-finished clogs, some stacked in pairs, others resting on scraps of linen. The gouge blade needs sharpening again. You'll do it after breakfast. Your wife has left out a crust of rye bread, a wedge of old cheese, and a sliver of salted herring. You eat slowly, watching light spill in through the side window, the one with the lopsided shutter that always sticks in spring. The light is gold, but soft, not yet harsh. The town of Leiden has changed many times in its life. You've heard stories of siege, of starving burghers boiling leather boots into soup, of Spanish garrisons, of revolutionary sermons, of scholars translating Hebrew, besides steaming pots of chocolate. But all that is far away now. Today is quiet. Today is just another market day, and another pair of clogs to carve. You step outside. Briefly, the morning air is cool and damp, smelling faintly of pickled beetroot and chimney soot. Your neighbor is feeding scraps to the alley cats. She nods to you without speaking. Farther down the lane, a boy is counting crates of turnips with his fingers, whispering numbers like spells. Someone is coughing behind a shutter. Someone else is praying. You return inside and lift the block of willow wood from the bucket where it's been soaking overnight. It's still damp, the grains softened just enough. You tap the heel with your knuckle. Good resonance. You wedge it into the clamp and lower your body until your cheek rests close to the wood close, enough to hear the echoes inside it. You begin the first. Cut dot, each clog begins the same, but none are ever truly alike. The left one is always harder. No one knows why. Some say the heart of the tree favors the right. Some say the left shoe holds the sorrow of the wearer, and sorrow is heavier. You don't worry over reasons. You carve slowly, methodically, letting the shape emerge. Outside, the town is waking. You hear the bakery 2 doors down begin stirring batter. Someone drops a spoon. A dog barks once, then twice. A child yells the name Mina, and a shutter is slammed shut in reply. The rhythm of Leiden life played without. Conductor, as you carve, you hum. Always the same tune. A melody your grandfather taught you a lullaby. You think, though the words are long lost, just a shape of notes, circling like pigeons over rooftops. Some days the melody changes on its own. Today it does ends, single quotes. Today it stays exactly as you remember it. You pause to stretch your arms and turn the wood in your hands. The heel needs softening. The arch still too proud. You press your thumb to the grain and feel the resistance shift. There's a rhythm to it, like kneading dough or folding linen. A memory forms your mother shaping dough beside the hearth, hair wrapped in striped cloth, lips moving without sound. She never sang aloud, but her mouth always moved. No one visits yet. The street is still too wet. The canal breeze too cold. You like it this way, before the orders come, before the neighbor's daughter asks again for a pair with little tulips etched near the toe, before the cobbler down the road passes by to tease you about the slow pace of your knife. This hour is yours. Just the wood, just the song, just the sound of your blade kissing the grain. By midday, the first clog is shaped rough, but promising. You hold it in your lap like a loaf just risen outside. The sun has reached the tower spire, and children are throwing bread to ducks near the bridge. You watch for a while, and you breathe. Asterisk wonderful. Let's pick up where we left off, in a quiet workshop beside a Dutch canal, where the second clog still waits to be carved. Asterisk, the shape of every soul afternoon seeps into Leiden like warm syrup. It trickles down brick walls, slips across puddles, settles into the folds of linen drying on a line. You've just finished your midday meal, small, bowl of barley soup with a scattering of parsley. There was a hard-boiled egg, 2, shared with the cat, who sometimes waits outside your shop door. Now your hands return to the second clog, and once again your song begins. There's an art to symmetry, but no joy in perfection. The second shoe must mirror the first, but never exactly. Feet are never identical, and life rarely flows in straight lines. So you trace the arch with care, shaving away just enough. You whisper a breath of tune under your breath, and chip by chip, the second soul takes shape. Outside your open window, the street is fuller now. You hear cartwheels sloshing through wet dirt, the click of a ladle on a tin pot, the distant clang of rope against a flagpole. A group of women walks past, carrying bundles wrapped in cloth laundry perhaps, or peat. Their wooden clogs knock unevenly on the cobbles. One woman laughs. A child asks a question you don't catch the words, but you smile anyway. Behind your shop, your neighbor's geese are arguing again. They always quarrel after noon. You've learned their voices can almost tell them apart. One is shrill, the other hoarse, and a third sounds like a creaky hinge. You glance out the back window. There they are, waddling round the stone basin. The eldest one always tries to peck at your ankle if you walk too close. But today, you stay at your bench. Let the geese keep their kingdom. The afternoon light slants golden. across your table. You pull out your smallest gouge and begin the detailing. Today's client wants a pear for his daughter's coming feast day. You sketch a little flower near the toe modest, like a daisy. Then, on the heel, you inscribe 3 dots in a triangle. No one ever asks what they mean, but you always carve them, a small signature shared only between you and the wood. You pause to sip from the mug of chicory beside you. It's cooled, slightly bitter, but the taste grounds you. You glance across the canal. A boy is tying reeds into a raft, his hands surprisingly precise. An old woman watches from a stoop, unspooling yarn from a wooden shuttle. 2 dogs nap in a rowboat moored to a post. Life flows gently here, even when it changes. You remember once, long ago, when the water froze so solid they raced horses down the canal. You were young. Your uncle gave you your first carving knife that winter, still in your drawer now, though the handle's worn smooth. You run your fingers across the drawer, front dot not to open it, just to feel it there as the sun lowers. Your wife appears in the doorway. She doesn't speak. She carries a pail of water and 2 apples in her apron. She sets one beside you, touches your shoulder briefly, then moves to the back of the shop to sweep wood, dust into a small pile. You listen to the bristles stroke the floor. You both work in silence, but it is a silence shared, not empty at last. The second clog is done. You test both for balance, heel to toe, then tap their soles together just once. A soft, wooden echo. They're ready to be soaked again before the final smoothing. You place them in the old tin basin and pour water gently until they are half-dash submerged. Then you rest your knife and stretch your back. Evening has begun its hush. You step outside. Children are chasing each other past the windmill's base, carrying candles inside paper cones. Their laughter doesn't disturb the birds nesting in the rafters. A group of boys on the bridge tosses pebbles into the canal, aiming for lily pads. You hear the distant thump of a church, bell 7 long strokes. Soon, families will draw their shutters. Soon, someone will begin baking tomorrow's bread, and somewhere, on another bench, another craftsman will press his blade into wood. You return inside, close the shutters, and light a single oil lamp. Its glow is small but warm. You sit beside it, clogs resting nearby like quiet company. The cat returns. You offer it the fish bones from lunch. It accepts without ceremony. You take out a soft cloth and begin to polish the older pear on the shelf. The ones you carved 5 winters ago, for your own feet, still strong, still yours. You hum a slower tune now, not the carving song, a lullaby maybe, or maybe just a memory with no words at all. And you wonder, when these clogs are worn days from now, walking past this very shop, will anyone notice the tiny triangle on the heel? Will they hear the echo of your bench, your blade, your breath? Or will it all become part of the street's hum? Like the geese, like the bells, like the water tapping stone. You smile, either way, it is enough. Where the feet have been the next morning arrives, wrapped in fog, thin, pale, and lingering like a curtain pulled half across the eyes of the town. You open your window slowly. The hinges creak. The fog breathes in. The canal is still. A barge glides silently past, its pilot barely visible behind a stack of rolled carpets. You hear only the dull slosh of its wake against stone. The clogs have soaked enough. Their surface feels supple now, ready for the smoothing knife. You sit at your bench, hands warm from the tea your wife brought up with a pinch of honey. The knife moves in wide. Looping arcs dot each pass takes away just the faintest layer. It is not sanding, it is coaxing. You shape them not toward perfection, but toward belonging. These clogs must walk cobbles. They must dance at festivals. They must scuff quietly across floorboards during arguments no one will remember. They must live, and so you work slowly, outside. The fog lifts inch by inch. The sun does not shine. It simply becomes visible, again filtered through linen, cloud, and the wide, flat sky of Holland. Across the canal, the boatman ties up and disappears into a side alley. Someone is playing a flute 2 streets over, badly, but earnestly. You pause to listen anyway. The day unfolds gently. Customers begin to arrive. A fishmonger with calloused fingers and the voice of a rooster. A seamstress in a yellow shawl who always carries lavender. A young man who speaks too quickly, always in need of repairs. You greet each of them by name. They linger not for service, but for stillness. Your shop smells of linseed oil, damp wood, and the faintest trace of nutmeg, a place where time moves like syrup on a cool plate. One child comes in holding a soggy piece of paper. It's a drawing, she says, her own design. You study it seriously. It's a clog. With wings, you nod and promise her one day, perhaps. You will try, she beams. You give her a small shaving of willow wood, curled like a ribbon. She calls it a snail and keeps it in her pocket. By late afternoon, your delivery is ready. The clogs are wrapped in a strip of old linen, tied with twine. You carry them carefully across the bridge, passing under laundry lines and chimney smoke. The family's home is modester, tidy yard with geese, a crooked bench under an elder tree, and 3 wind chimes of bone and copper. The girl who will wear them is practicing embroidery on the stoop. She looks up, smiles shyly. Her father presses a coin into your hand too much. You say nothing, you simply nod, and return to your side of the canal. That evening, the girl wears the clogs around the yard. They thump unevenly, as new clogs do, but they hold, and they fit. You watch from across the water, sitting on your step. A small bowl of peas beside you, waiting to be shelled. You listen to her. Footsteps, that familiar rhythm, a song you've known all your life. Your wife joins you. She brings a blanket and 2 apples. You share the silence. Across the water, a candle flickers in a window. A dog barks once, then settles, and above it all, the low hum of life continues. Nothing remarkable, nothing rare, just the ordinary miracles of staying warm, keeping time, and walking forward on souls you carved with your own hands. Later that night, you write a few lines in the old notebook beneath your bed. Cloudy again, sold 1 pair. Girl with wings in her eyes. Maybe I'll carve them someday. You close the book, blow out the lamp, and slip off your own clogs. Before bed, there's a soft knock of wood on wood as you set them beside the door. You listen. It's the sound of things done well. Not famously, not forever, but faithfully. And you wonder how many feet have worn your clogs across this town. How many of your songs echo faintly in other streets. You'll never know, and that's all right. Sleep comes easily tonight. Your hands are tired. The cat is warm, and the bench will still be there tomorrow. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place. Asterisk, and so we leave the wooden echoes of Leiden behind, and step now into a world of swaying palm fronds, spice-laden air, and a sky thick with rain. Story 6. Baskets of rain, market day, beneath the palm roofs of old Malacca, before the stalls were raised. Good evening, traveller. Dim your lights. Let the hush of monsoon air carry you. Feel the gentle press of woven mats beneath your resting. Bones. You're in Malacca, now centuries ago. The year is uncertain. Somewhere in the 15th century, the Sultanate is at its height. The sea has brought strangers from across the world, and dawn has barely begun to stir. But already the women are up. Already the baskets are being filled. You awaken to the smell of wet pandan leaves and smoke curling from coconut husks. Somewhere behind the mosquito netting and rice paper walls, someone has begun to grind turmeric with the steady rhythm of a mortar and pestle. You rise, stretch slowly, and feel the warm air kiss your arms. In the courtyard below, two hens are arguing near a broken clay jug. A child is chasing a frog barefoot. The ground is still wet from last night's downpour, the puddles cloudy and still. A woman in a cane batikked walks past your door. Her basket is already half full. The market of Malacca does not wait for sun. It rises with the steam of the earth, with the rustle of banana leaves being unfolded, with the creak of rattan poles being fastened into shade by the river's edge. Stalls are being stitched together. Long mats are unrolled. Palm fronds are spread wide as roofs soaked in last night's rain, but still sturdy. A boy carries a bundle of dried sea cucumber. An old man with a missing tooth ties sacks of nutmeg with fraying rope. Everyone has a rhythm. Everyone has a job. Even the ducks waddling in from the canal like they own the road. You walk slowly, basket in hand. The ground is soft, squelching, slightly underfoot. Somewhere, someone is slicing jackfruit. The smell sharp and sticky. You pass a weaver repairing the corner of her basket with a sliver of bamboo. She nods at you without pausing. Her hands move like wind through reeds. Next to her, a young girl arranges red. Hibiscus flowers in rows of 3. No one will buy them this early, but they must be arranged. There's a pattern to the day, and it begins with small rituals. By the time the sun peers through the clouds, shy and golden, the market hums with soft, sleepy motion. There is no shouting here, no rush, only the dull slap of fish on woven trays, the scrape of dried ginger into bowls, the clink of ceramic weights on string scales. An old man with clouded eyes plays a bamboo flute near the temple wall. No tune in particular, just the sound of breath through cane. You stop near a stall where 2 sisters sell salted duck eggs wrapped in ash. They're singing under their breath an old song about river, spirits and mango trees. They invite you to taste a sliver. You do. It is sharp, earthy and bright with brine. Around the bend, near the shaded bend of the banyan grove, the spice traders have begun to unfurl their wares. Jars of cloves and cinnamon bark, strings of garlic, sacks of tamarind, and dried betel leaves pressed. Like brittle fans, a woman from Java haggles in a mixture of tongues, some Malay, some Arabic, some something older still. No one minds the blend. In Malacca, all languages are useful, and all of them are remembered by the rain. You sit briefly on a low stool, shaded by the edge of a sailcloth. A girl offers you a tiny cup of warm sago with gula melaka. The palm sugar melts on your tongue, like molasses and memory. She watches your face carefully. You nod in thanks. She says nothing, just grins and runs off to join a boy, kicking a durian husk like a ball as midday approaches. The rain returns. It is soft, at first barely more than mist, then thicker, steady, the kind of rain that doesn't ask permission. No one flees. Stalls are simply covered. Baskets are pulled closer. People lean in, and the market breathes in the rhythm of the drops. Tap, 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 like the sound of footsteps on a wet thatch roof. You close your eyes for a moment, let it wash over you. The voices blur. The air smells of pepper and wet mango skin. The market is a cradle now, and you wonder, how many mornings like this have passed beneath these palm roofs? How many baskets filled, emptied, mended, and filled again? You don't need to know. All you need is this moment and the gentle rain. Asterisk, wonderful. Let's return to that rainy, woven world by the straits where the baskets still brim, and the hours sway like palm fronds in the mist. Asterisk, the spice-warmed afternoon, it is just past noon now. The rain has softened into a hush. Like fingers brushing rice paper, the palm roofs glisten. Beads of water trail from eaves into shallow bowls, set out to collect them clean water, used later for rinsing herbs or cooling tired feet. You sit cross-legged on a low mat. The woman next to you peels shallots, her hands stained red, her voice low, telling no one in particular about a dream she had involving 3 goats and a talking pineapple. You say nothing, you just listen. Beyond the thatch, the light is muted and golden, filtered through storm cloud and frond. It catches on the wet skin of green mangoes. It clings to the edges of tin bowls, stacked high with glutinous rice. The afternoon has no hurry. The baskets are full now, some for trade, others for show. Elders squat beside trays of medicinal roots, tapping gently on bamboo sticks to call attention. But not loudly, never loudly. In Malacca, even commerce hums like a lullaby. A man with a coiled beard sells dried star anise in waxy pouches. He knows everyone's name, knows how many children they have, who lost a boat last season, whose grandmother still swears by tea made from roasted rambutan leaves. You buy nothing from him. He still gives you a sliver of nutmeg wrapped in cloth. For your dreams, he says, winking in a shadowed corner near the mosque wall. A group of women are sewing fine embroidery. The patterns repeat: fronds, clouds, birds, and between them, a recurring symbol, 3 droplets inside a lotus. You ask what it means. An older woman shrugs. It's just what our mothers did, she says. Maybe it keeps the cloth from forgetting. A boy tries to carry a bundle of firewood taller than himself. He drops it. The wood scatters across the mud. One by one, people help him gather it again. No words, no scolding, only hands. You help too. His cheeks are wet not with tears, but with the rain that clings to everyone like a second skin, under a patched umbrella made of 2 rice sacks sewn together. A woman sells silken tofu out of a clay pot. She gives you a small bowl with ginger syrup and roasted sesame. It wobbles in your palm like sleep itself. You eat it slowly. Each bite is a memory you haven't lived yet, nearby. A quiet argument unfolds between 2 elderly spice sellers. You don't understand the dialect fully, but from their tone, you gather it's about who owes whom a chicken from last week's. Bet they stop to laugh midway through. The bet, it seems, has lasted a decade. Time is difficult to hold here. Clocks are rare. Instead, people read the shadows, the shape of steam rising from pots, the angle of the rain. You find yourself doing the same. The afternoon moves not in hours, but in rhythms. The hush of drizzle, the folding of banana leaves, the weight of a laden basket lifted gently as the light slants. A procession passes through. 3 temple boys with shaved heads, and robes the color of honey thread soft prayers under their breath. They are barefoot, each carrying a small bowl of jasmine. People nod as they pass. No one claps. No one bows. Only quiet acknowledgement, like noticing a breeze that smells of sugarcane. You walk again, this time toward the edge of the market, where the ground begins to slope toward the mangroves. There, women are sorting rattan and coconut, fiber into great heaping piles. Some of it will be turned into rope, some burned, some packed for shipbuilders who pass through from Gujarat or Kampa or places farther still. One woman with sun-lined eyes offers you a handful of peppercorns just to smell. She says, "You do it. Wake something inside your nose and mind at once, like fire whispered through rain." Children nap in hammocks beneath the counters. An old woman fans them with a folded palm leaf. The fans move slowly, like waves, like sleep at last. The call to prayer rises from the stone minaret. Its echo trembles against the clouds. Vendors pause, not all to pray, but all to listen. The market stills for a breath. Even the ducks seem to grow quiet. A single banana leaf flutters to the ground, wet and heavy, and lands beside your foot. It is time to rest again. The afternoon is folded like cloth, and the market, now half empty, breathes with the ease of a long sigh. And you wonder, if someone walked these paths 100 years from now, would they still hear the rain tapping gently on woven roofs? Would they still find star, anise, and salt fish, laughter and quiet gestures, tofu that tastes like dreaming? Or would it all vanish, folded, away like a leaf in a closing basket? But for now, it is still here, still present, still raining just a little. Asterisk, let's walk once more beneath the palm roofs, where the day draws to a hush and the baskets are nearly empty, but the air still holds stories thick as steam and soft as memory. The folded hours of dusk evening slides in quietly. There is no sudden change, only the slow turning of the world toward shadow. Colors deepen, voices lower. The air, once thick with spice and heat, begins to cool. The scent of clove smoke now mingles with river mist. You're still in the market, though it is quieter now. Some stalls remain open, not out of commerce, but habit. No one expects to sell much after dusk, but still, a few linger. A woman in a worn sarong stacks what's left of her lemongrass. She arranges them carefully, stem to root, then ties them with twine. She hums as she works, not a song exactly, but a rhythm, like the kind passed down through mortar pestles and wind-whittled spoons. You listen, your head resting lightly against a post wrapped in palm rope. It creaks as you breathe. Children play nearby with a wheel made from split bamboo. Their laughter is soft, like dried rice falling from a winnowing tray. A man crouched by a pot of soy-brined tofu begins to pack up, slowly, reverently. He folds his cloth, wipes down his spoons, then lights a narrow lamp and sets it beside the clay jars, as if to thank them. You nod at him as you pass. He does not smile, but his eyes meet yours, and that is enough near the southern edge of the market. The songbirds begin their evening chorus. They do not care for spices or trade, but they sing all the same high light. Uncertain notes drifting above the smell of rain-soaked earth and ripening guava. A woman sweeping her mat looks up at the sound, then continues without comment. This, too, is part of the routine. You pause near the banyan tree. The ground here is a little more dry, protected by its great arms of shadow and moss. Someone has left an offering on the roots, a square of sweetened rice in banana leaf, a pinch of salt, and a piece of yellow fabric weighted by a stone. There's no shrine, just the tree, and the unspoken hope that someone or something might take notice further on. Two men are finishing a game of concac. The shells click softly into wooden hollows, like rain across a tin roof. They say nothing, but their hands move with the ease of old friends. One scratches his chin, the other rolls his eyes. The game ends without announcement. They nod, they rise, and they walk away. A girl with bare feet and ink-stained fingers is sketching something with charcoal on a folded sheet of bark paper. You lean, slightly to see it's a scene, this very market, this very dusk. A crooked palm roof, 2 ducks, a bowl of jackfruit, and someone who looks very much like you, sitting under a sailcloth, sipping something warm. She doesn't notice you watching, or maybe she does, but doesn't care. Later, as twilight thickens, the lamps are lit. One by one, along the market paths dim, flames in oil bowls, swaying slightly in the breeze. They cast long, quiet shadows, a basket rocking gently on a hook, the knot of a headscarf, the glint of tin fish scales. You find a stool beneath a woven awning. Someone offers you teen-sweetened, floral, faintly bitter. The cup is chipped, but warm. You cradle it in both hands. A few vendors begin to sing just softly, songs meant to help with packing up. Songs about moontides and forgotten names. Nothing meant to impress, only to pass the time. Somewhere in the far edge of the market, near the docks, you hear the soft creak of a sail being lowered. A trader from Ceylon, perhaps, or Gujarat, making ready to depart before dawn. You wonder how far his baskets have traveled, how many markets he's seen, how many soft rains have followed him. As the last of the baskets are covered and the final ladle is washed, someone lights incense at the corner of a spice stall. The scent rises sharp, earthy like wet bark in memory. It trails up into the night, joining the low murmur of final footsteps, the laughter of a child carried home in a sling, the rustle of empty leaves beneath the roof's edge. You close your eyes. The rain has stopped, but its rhythm remains in the puddles, the footprints, the soft hush of woven baskets being stacked in rows. And you wonder, when the market sleeps, do the baskets dream? Do they remember the hands that filled them, the spices they once carried, the names called out in morning drizzle? Or do they rest quietly, holding nothing but the echo of the day? You do not know, and perhaps you don't need to. Not tonight. Tonight the world is folded like a market mat, tucked and tied, rain damp and dreaming. Let it rest, so can you. Let's now wander into a different time, a different place. Story 7. Barrels and Black Bread. The salted lives of Iceland's coastal women, dawn, along the driftwood shore. Good evening, and welcome again. Settle beneath your warmest blanket, tuck your toes in, and breathe deep. Tonight, we journey far north to the quiet edges of Iceland's coast, where the sea meets stone and women once worked in windswept silence, packing cod and mending rope, shaping life one salted handspan at a time. Let your breath slow, let the hush of ocean fog settle over your thoughts like wool against your skin. And now, come walk beside the women who greeted the dawn not with words, but with the creak of barrels and the crunch of frost underfoot. The light here arrives slowly, not in golden beams, but in smudges grey over grey. A sky that doesn't shine so much as it lifts, just slightly, as if blinking awake. You are standing near a salt-drifted hut, its roof sagging slightly under the weight of time and turf. Beside you, a woman in a thick woolen shawl ties her apron. With red yarn, she does not look at you, but she knows you're here. She is one of a crew 5 women, all awake before the birds. Their boots crunch frost as they walk the path to the curing racks. Each carries something: a tin pail, a curved knife, a basket of linen. None of them speak. There is no need. They have worked together for so long that their silence is fluent. The work ahead is ordinary. Split the cod, remove the spine, rinse with cold water, layer with salt, press under stone. But within these gestures lie a rhythm steady, old, and sleep-like. The curing shed smells of fish and brine and wintered wood. Stone hearth smoulders faintly in the corner, not for warmth only, to keep the knives from icing over. You are handed a cloth, not to work, just to wipe the mist from your brow. The women begin. Their hands move in practiced arcs. Split, fold, rinse, salt, split, fold, rinse, salt. A young girl perhaps. 12 watchers, copying every motion. She's allowed to cure only the smallest fish. Her face is still pink from sleep. Outside, the wind picks up. It carries the cry of seabirds and the sharp scent of kelp. One of the women pauses to adjust the scarf over her mouth. The salt air cracks lips, and the sun, though faint, burns. Still no one complains. Instead, they sing, not loudly but under their breath, a lullaby for the cod. An old folk song for hands that have split too many spines. Their names are not recorded in many books, only on old church lists, marriage rolls, sometimes in the back margins of fishing ledgers, paid to women for salting, June to August. No mention of who, but if you close your eyes, you can almost hear them still. Katrine with her red yarn, Asta with the chipped tooth, Brindis, who never married, but could gut 30 fish before noon. The morning passes slowly, between barrels. You find small moments: a broken comb placed gently on a shelf, a biscuit wrapped in wax cloth and tucked behind a beam, a scarf embroidered with waves and stars. These are not luxuries, they are memory, stitched and hidden in plain sight. By midday, the sky has barely changed. Grey still, low, the barrels now stand full. The fish will cure for days, weeks, even until they're firm and dry dot, then packed onto boats bound for ports in Spain, Portugal, maybe even Africa. Not that these women will ever go. They've never left this bay, but their salt-creased work will travel farther than they ever will. You walk with them now to the communal house, low, turf-walled, with a door so narrow even the sea wind hesitates to enter. Inside, dry boots, boiled potatoes, and steam. The women peel off their shawls, revealing braids, scarves, cheeks rubbed red. One boils barley. Another lays out slabs of black bread. No plates, just hands. A bowl is passed to you. Stew with dried fish and onions. You sip it slowly. It is not delicious, but it is warm, and it is enough. And you wonder, what did these women dream of? Did they dream at all? Or did the salt steal even that, like it stole the softness from their hands? Perhaps they dreamed of things that had no shape. A sky that stayed blue. A boat that came back full. A morning without wind, the fire crackles. Outside, the curing racks stand in rows like silent sentinels, and the sea, just beyond them, breathes. Not loud, not fierce, just endlessly. Asterisk, of course. Let's walk back into that grey, salted light. Asterisk salt. Bone and midday light. You return to the shore by mid. A light mist has settled in, not quite rain, but enough to bead on your lashes and blur the line between sea and sky. The women are already at the racks. The cured fish, split and stiff, are being turned. Each piece is inspected, flipped, then left to dry in the slanting wind. It is slow work, but not tedious. The racks themselves are simple: wood planks, drift posts, sometimes whale ribs driven into the ground. Here in the north, everything is repurposed. Even the sea's leftovers find new lives. The bones that once swam now hold the fish that will feed others. One of the older women, Jurin, hums an old work chant. The tune has no words, just syllables shaped by generations. You can feel it. More than hear it, it pulses with rhythm. Lift, turn, hang, lift, turn, hang. The others join in gradually, weaving their breath into the task. Even you begin to sway slightly, your body falling into the cadence. Nearby, a small child, no more than 5, carries a piece of dry cod in both arms like a log. She's not working. Not really, but she insists on helping. Her mother lets her. There is no separation here between childhood and labor, only the slow softening of one into the other. A basket tips cod spill across the stone. No one scolds. Instead, 2 women crouch to help, brushing each piece clean with a bit of dried moss. One murmurs something about luck. That dropped fish bring good weather. You are not sure if she believes it, but it's a comforting thought at midday. The women retreat again to the turf shelter inside. The light is golden filtered through oiled skins and fishnet curtains. Steam rises from a large pot set into the hearth. They do not sit around it. They kneel. Their knees press into wool mats that smell of smoke and salt. Lunch is dried haddock and melted sheep's fat. Drizzled onto barley, there is tea too, steeped with wild herbs gathered from between the stones. No sugar, no honey, just the bitter green of Icelandic thyme and crowberry leaves. It sharpens the tongue, wakes the mind as they eat. The women speak quietly, not gossip more like soft cataloguing, which boats have returned, who stitched what tear in whose sail, what bread failed to rise in the damp weather. These are the stories that hold the fabric of life together, not dramatic, but essential. After the meal, some tend to repairs. Woolen gloves are mended with bone needles. A rope is rebraided with fingers worn smooth from years of salt. One woman sharpens her gutting knife, turning the stone slowly in her lap. Another reads from a Danish prayer book, not aloud, just mouthing the words, her lips moving silently. You step outside. The sky has begun to lighten just barely. Somewhere out at sea, a boat horn sounds, a crew returning, or perhaps a warning fog, perhaps, or ice. There is no urgency, only awareness. The sea does what it wants. You walk the length of the racks alone now. Each fish hangs still, their mouths fixed in the quiet shapes of ocean stories. You try to imagine them alive, but it's hard. They've been transformed, not just dried, but woven into the very smell and fabric of this place. In the distance, a man's voice calls across the beach. A fisherman returning. His boots crunch through frost and bladderwrack. He carries a sealskin sack over his shoulder fish. Probably, or maybe news. The women watch, but they do not rise. They'll hear what he has to say when he gets closer. There's no rush. The girl with the charcoal-streaked apron is drawing again. This time, it's the racks, dozens of them in crooked rows. She adds birds to the sky and little dots for the drying. Fish, you ask if she'll sign it. She shakes her head. I always throw them away. You ask why. She shrugs. They're only drawings. They're not for keeping. The light begins to shift against softening. A small cat appears on a barrel. Its fur is dark and wet, but its tail curls contentedly. One of the women sets out a scrap of cured cod for it. Not because it's needed, but because that's how things are done. Even the smallest mouths deserve a piece of the sea. And you begin to wonder what lives are built from rhythms like these. Lives of tide and twine, of salt and sowing. What do they remember? What do they forget? There is a lull now, not because the work is done, but because this is the hour between space folded into the day like a breath, a pause not demanded but taken. And in that pause, the sea hums. So do the women, and the air tastes faintly of wind, brine and rest. Asterisk, the long drying, and what lingers after evening arrives in Iceland as a gradual fading, not so much a setting of sun, but a dimming of the edges. The horizon bleeds inward. The air grows dense, and the work slows. You're back among the fish racks, the salted wind slipping between the slats. It's colder now, the kind of cold that lives inside stone, that climbs into boots and makes even thick wool feel thin. The women are finishing for the day. They walk the line of racks, in pest checking, turning, tightening lashings where needed. Ropes creak softly. A gull lands nearby, but no one startles. Even the birds here know how to be quiet. You pause beside one of the women, Sigri. She's older than the rest. Her braids are streaked with grey, her hands blunt with decades of fish. She points to the racks. This one will travel far, she says. Her voice is low, weather-worn. To Cadiz, maybe, or St. Malo. You ask if she's been. She laughs once, short and dry. No, but my fish have. Inside the drying shed, the warmth clings faintly, carried by ember heat and breath. Some of the women sit now, back against beams. They talk about the coming storm. You can't hear the wind yet, but you feel its approach.